Hello.
Hello. Mm,
Mhm.
that's okay. People no, that's not true. People
Really,
always tell
really.
us we look alike, or they tell us we look nothing alike, so people will either be like, "Definitely," or "No way."
I I can well, no, I can hear you because 'cause we've been talking. I'm sorry.
Now do you hear me? Yes, you should hear me now. I don't know why I was muted. All right, again, this is Rachel, our guest, and um, she
She's my
is
sister.
Rebecca's sister. But you missed where I said, but she's better than Rebecca. I'm just gonna say
Yes.
it again.
Agreed.
No, not no. No, no, no.
Anyway, hi Q, hi Alyssa, hi Ash. Thank you guys for being here. They all say hello. They say hello, Rebecca, or hello, Rachel and Rebecca.
Hello.
So Rachel is actually the bestest Rebecca. True. That's a good way of putting
Correct.
it.
You know, the funny part is people a lot of times don't know I have a sister named Rebecca, especially, and they'll just call me Rebecca
What?
because the name's
Yeah, I get
yeah.
Rachel all the time. I don't know why.
Wait, what? That's really bizarre. That
It's
doesn't make
wild.
sense
Yeah.
to me.
People will be
I
like,
know.
"Yeah, Rebecca," and I'm like, "Yeah, Rachel," but
Rachel.
close.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't get that. So
I
my
don't
middle
know.
name's actually Rebecca,
Aw,
but
that's awesome.
it's spelled the biblical way.
AAH the wrong way.
Agree. Um,
But yeah, um, honestly, thank you for joining us. Do you just kind of want to start off sort of like where you were, kind of take us through your journey to where you are now? I think college, graduating college.
You want to hear
Let's
all
start
that
there.
again? Okay. You were there
Well,
for a
they
lot of
don't.
it, so
I know, but they don't hear it. But
yeah.
okay.
mostly it's just kind of like how you started mid recession. Then you're like, oh, I should go through
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
grad school.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I, like a lot of millennials in our age group, graduated in 2010. So this was when the job market had tanked. And I was living in Washington, D.C. I went to American University because, as we were all, many of us told in high school, like, oh, hey, you need to go to a college if you're smart and you need to take out student loans and make it happen. And so I went to this college and I didn't know what I wanted to do the entire time. I changed my major like 3 times at least. But I graduated in 2010 with a degree in international studies and communication and a minor in creative writing. So, yeah, useful. And so I applied to something like 40 or 50 jobs for
Mhm.
like admin assistant roles or stuff that was supposed to be entry level, but I didn't get a single one of them. Uh, I didn't even get, I think I called back for like one interview and I didn't know how to dress for interviews or anything. So I didn't get any of those jobs. But fortunately, during college, I had picked up a part time job as a bicycle tour guide in downtown DC. And so when I graduated, they were like, how about you be a manager for $15 an hour plus occasional tips? And I was like, sure, that sounds like the best money I could be making at the time.
How
And
much would
so
you get in tips typically? What was like typical tips? Do you remember?
I don't know because I didn't count them. I just shoved them in my pockets, and then when I did laundry, every time I did laundry, I made like a hundred
She's
bucks
not a Taurus.
because
She is not a Taurus. Go on.
No, we would know.
okay, that makes me feel better because like money, I've never been great with money. I know you guys write for financial blogs, but like I should never give people
Hey,
financial.
listen, when you know how they say if you can't teach,
Oh,
if you
fair.
if you can't edit and write about it, that's
Oh,
pretty
okay.
much how that goes.
All right. Well, that means a lot. But no, the tips are pretty substantial. Also, I was working like 60, 65, 70 hours a week, but I wasn't eligible for overtime because it was a seasonal job. So
Oh my God.
anyway, yeah. So I was made to feel at the time like, oh, perhaps if you can't find a job, you should probably go to grad school because you can just ride out the recession and get a graduate degree. And so with very little thoughts contrary to what I wound up doing, I was like, I'm going to major in anthropology and sociology, and I'm going to become a professor. Had I taken any anthro classes in undergrad? No.
No.
But I decided that was what I was going to do. And so I took out a lot of loans. And after 2 semesters in academia, was like, are we allowed to cuss on this podcast?
Fuck yeah.
Okay,
You've heard
fuck
us.
this.
Please,
I
please.
just wanted to make sure. It's like, this is bullshit. I hate all of this. This is basically just like white man's burden repackaged for the 21st century. And like, I don't want to deal with any of this. And so I switched to the very useful degree of museum studies, which was a really fun time. And honestly, like GW, where I went, has a really great program for it. But the problem with that is then you graduate and you have a degree in museum studies.
Wait. You need to tell them about your favorite internship ever. No, my favorite internship that you ever did ever in Alaska during this.
Oh yeah. Okay, so here's the bullshit thing about DC internships is most of them are unpaid and I was broke because I was living off student loans. And so I found a paid internship in Alaska of all places. And it was at the Hammer Museum. Because by the time I did this,
The
I was
Hammer Museum?
It's a museum about hammers. It's you can actually, if you go to Google Street View and you look for Haines, Alaska Hammer Museum, you can pull it up. And like, there's a sign on the roof that says the Hammer Museum that is made out of hammers. And then there's like a giant 12-foot hammer that the owner built right in front of the museum.
Okay, so just FYI, I told Jamie you had an internship at the Hammer Museum, except I got it wrong and said fork. So
Fork Museum.
I don't even remember you telling me that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I did that.
But
I got paid.
It was the hammer.
I got paid $150 a week, which at that time I was like, well, if the paid internship is better than free. They gave me housing. I had a great time. I don't remember a lot of.
Oh, they paid for housing for you?
They did. I stayed with the one of the board person because there was a board. I stayed in his house.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
weird? Anyway, I did that. I could really go into a lot of this. I put snails in jars for 300 hours. That was another internship that I had. I did that for free. Dead snails in jars.
Jesus.
Well, that was at the
for the Smithsonian.
Yes, people are always like, "Did you work at the
Rebecca would
Smithsonian?"
never put snails in jars. She would never.
No, she would not. She would die. That wouldn't go well for you. But they were all preserved in ethanol.
Oh, okay.
Are we talking like little cute snails or like the really gross ones?
Like freshwater snails. They were little. Like,
okay, that's fine.
Yeah. No, and it's kind of funny because people ask, like, it's some big prestigious thing. Like, did you work for the Smithsonian? And I'm like, I sure did. Do you want to know what I did? You know, like, I put snails in jars for free for a year. Yeah. So anyway, I got out of grad school and it was 2014 and I got a job at a bike shop because that was the only thing that I could find. And finally, after a lot of time applying with my brand new shiny master's degree, I got a job working guest services at a well-known museum in downtown DC that shall remain nameless if I can keep it nameless.
Sure.
And that was a very crowded museum. It was a for-profit museum at the time I started working there. And I spent a lot of time just like shuttling crowds in and out and yelling at people and trying to make sure that the visitor experience was good and yelling at my staff for having cell phones on and having a radio on while trying to deal with guests. And it was a lot. It was a lot. The people I worked with were amazing. I will say that, but the guests were nightmares. They made that job horrible.
I can imagine.
Yes.
Did you wake up every day and look at your master's degree and go, yes?
No, but
just
the manager of my department.
Knife. You're just turning that knife in her.
No, I know. And it was one of those things where it was like the manager of my department, I think he was really impressed that I had a master's degree, but all the people that I actually worked with, they were like, you don't need a degree to do this fucking job. And I'm like, I know, I am so aware. And they were all better at that job than me.
You're like, shut the fuck up, everybody. Like, stop pointing it out.
I was like, I don't like being the center of attention. I was too mousy. Like, I'm a terrible manager because people would come to me with their problems and I'd be like, oh my God, really? Yes, of course you can have the day off paid. No problem. Like, I was not a good manager, just really not at all. So anyway, this is a long story. I'm so sorry. But I was working one day and I saw a nice man who worked for the exhibits department painting a display in the lobby. And during grad school, I had had a job where I was installing bicycle racks around DC. And so like using power tools and drilling into concrete and like putting the things you lock bicycles to in the ground. So I knew I liked painting and I knew I liked power tools. And I saw this man working on an exhibit and I said, hey, if you ever need help building exhibits, would you please let me know? I have so much experience using a hammer drill. And he was like, okay, cool. Sounds good. And so I started working a second job at that museum and coming in early in the mornings and helping the exhibits guy like clean the exhibits because we were opening a new museum. And so then during this whole process, I wound up taking on a third job as the project manager for all the curators and
that was your
opening the
third
museum.
mistake. That was your third mistake,
Yeah.
Rachel.
I've made so many, and all of them unfortunately were expensive.
We have to tell you the rule. We have to tell you the rule. What's the rule, Jamie? We don't what? We don't work for free.
Yeah.
Well,
Don't work for free.
And you know what? You're so right. And I really wish that somebody would have taken me and just like shaken me by my shoulders and been like,
well, we
you
all
are
wish
worth
that
more
when we
than
were
this.
that age. Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I know. I was like 26. Like I had
Rebecca,
no
like,
excuse.
I was never.
Never, not once. Working for startups, they never take advantage of you ever.
Oh my God.
No.
Yeah.
But yeah, they 100% like got 3 full jobs out of you. That's crazy.
Yeah. No. And I was at the time getting paid like $47,000 a year. I'm very open about all the money I was making because it's not much. So it's like,
not to mention it's a for-profit, and so then you're not even eligible for, loan forgiveness or anything.
they did transition to a nonprofit while I was there, like in the first couple of years.
Ooh,
Yeah, but it was
right.
the museum kind of started off as like a cash cow for this person who owns it. But so I wound up doing the exhibits thing, and I really love that. And the guy that I worked with, like, he taught me how to use the saws and to like build little boxes to like put artifacts on. They sent me off to like mount making camps so I could learn how to make things out of brass to hold artifacts on the wall. And I loved it so much. And I love working with my hands, and I loved being behind the scenes, and I loved not having to talk to a single goddamn person all day. Like, it was the best job. I was so happy. And so I spent 7 days a week helping them open up that new museum. And then by the time the new museum opened, I said, hey, I would like a raise. And they went, we're not sure about that. So it took them 3 months to decide that I needed like a little bump. And then COVID happened.
It was like 3%, 2%. They're like, here's 2%.
It wasn't much. And the guy that I work for, like, he did go to bat for me, but the museum had no budget because we had just spent like billions of dollars on a new building. Which is not to defend them. I will say the leadership was actually pretty good there, but just like we were all getting taken advantage of, like, right and left. Like the whole nonprofit world, everybody is getting taken advantage of.
Yeah. Alyssa said, we're told that working for free will pay off, and it's an investment.
It's not. And then especially
like grad school.
Yeah, no, it's like, what's the opposite of an investment when you owe everybody else money? Because that's what it was.
And Ash is right too. She said unpaid internships are just another way for wealthy people to get ahead. It's true. It's like, I mean, it is. That's exactly what it is. Who can do an unpaid internship? Rich
People
kids.
whose mommy and daddy are bankrolling their stuff and trusting kids. Yeah.
100% correct on that one. Holy crap.
And like our parents did the best to support me that they could. And I was on a scholarship for undergrad at grad school. Like, I was on my own. And I didn't know about, nobody should ever give 20-something-year-olds $100,000+ loans. That's not a good idea.
No. They give 17-year-olds loans for college, like actual children. It's
a problem.
Crazy.
So yeah. So anyway, I'm like, long story short, but there's no making this short. So COVID happened, March 2020, and then rather than fire all of us, the COO of our museum, who actually is like, she was a badass. She did a decent job doing what she did. She lowered our salaries by a certain percentage, and the people that were at the top got the highest percentage off of their salaries, but mine was still like a significant enough amount where like I really couldn't afford anything. And I was living in like somebody's moldy basement in Tacoma Park, like, which is like a little suburb outside of DC. Like, I really couldn't afford anything. I wasn't like living high on the hog or anything. I didn't even own a car. So I
I'm
think
sorry,
I kind of
Rachel.
just reached.
High on the hog? High on the hog?
Is that the correct expression?
I've never
Sounds
heard
like
this.
vegan to me.
I mean, it sounds anti-vegan. You can't just be sitting on hogs.
Hey, you guys, you heard it
Try
here
it.
first. Rebecca was the first person to say vegan. Vegan. She did it.
I believe it's
Good.
vegan.
Vegan. It's actually
Vegan.
vegan.
It's actually vegan. So, I wasn't fancy. I didn't have a car. I rode a bicycle for 13 years. Like I never, anyway. So I think I kind of reached a point between the pandemic and not seeing my friends, and everybody just kind of had like various meltdowns in various categories of life. And I know I'm not alone in this, but I was like, fuck this, I'm done. And so I applied for a job across the country in Bend, Oregon at another museum that shall remain nameless. And to actually make a long story short, I moved all the way across the country, worked at this job, and was like, wow, all of the same problems are here, except they're worse.
Oh no.
Just the leadership was out to lunch. I liked my job, but my boss just did not give a fuck. And I didn't know enough to like really take the bull by the horns and be like, this is what we're gonna do. And so I was hired as an exhibit preparator, which was a job that like I technically was qualified for, but I had no guidance as to like how the museum actually functioned. So I was just
preparator.
Preparator, yeah. Usually that's somebody who takes care of artifacts and like all the mount making and
I
all
think
of
it's
the
preparator.
right, like preparator or tour if you're
Preparator.
French.
Vegan.
But like vegan, it's typically is somebody who takes care of the artifacts and prepares them for display in the exhibits. But I also had a job as like an exhibit technician, so doing all the building and the lighting and the da 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 with my boss who didn't care.
So 2 more jobs. 2 jobs at the same time.
So many bosses that like don't care, and it's like, how are these people in these leadership roles when they don't give a shit?
Well, the job market in Bend is not great. So if you have a college degree and you're in Bend, like, good luck. It's tough out there.
Good luck to you, Rachel.
Yeah, thank you. So I quit that job too, and the reason I quit that job is because, and this is where we were getting to, I promise, is I applied to an apprenticeship with the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. Yes.
Wait. You have the life-changing radio commercial.
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. So I did at this point have a car. I had my little Toyota Yaris that I bought from Rebecca, actually, that I drove across the country in twice with my ex-boyfriend.
Wait, she's going she's going through all of this, and you make her pay for the car. You don't just give it to her. Come on, Rebecca.
Correct.
I mean, I would not have taken a car for free anyway. That would not have drive with me either. So, but thank you.
I gave her a good deal.
She did. She gave me a great deal. I sold it for more than I bought it off of her for. So yeah, not by much, but a little bit.
All right, that's fair then. That's fair.
Yeah. So I'm driving my little, like, my partner calls it my little baby race car around, and I hear this radio commercial that was like, "Are you tired of being paid less than you're worth?" And I said, yes, I am, to the radio display. And it was like, well, then consider applying to the IBEW, which is the local electrical union. And I was not the target audience for these ads. The target audience for these ads are non-union electricians. And they were like, you could make more money with us and a pension and have healthcare and a 401k. And I was like, boy, that sounds really great. What if I applied to the apprenticeship? And so I did, thinking like, well, this is a lark. They're never going to want me. There's no fucking way I'm getting into this. Like at that point I was like a 32-year-old female. I'm like, they're not going to fucking hire me. But
if I recall, someone was dazzling was the exact word that I remember.
Dazzling. Do you want to hear how I got into the apprenticeship?
Absolutely.
So I'm sitting waiting in the hall, which is like, the hall is the home of the local that you have in your town, and
home of
I
kings.
was kind of home of kings.
The hall of kings.
I was kind of nervously waiting, and this guy was like, "Are you applying to the program?" And I said, "Yes." He was like, "You're a chick, you'll be fine." I was like, "Okay." And you know what? Honestly, if that was an advantage, whatever, I'll fucking take it, because white men don't sit out here.
You get one advantage, fine. Great.
Yes, exactly. Because you don't hear white men being like, "Oh, they probably only let me in because I'm a white man." Like, how often do you hear that? Never. So I was like, cool. But also, I aced the aptitude test, because you have to take a test that proves that you know how to do reading and math, and I got I just smashed it out of the goddamn park, if I do say so myself. And then the interview committee, at this point, you'll recall I have had 50 something interviews in my life for jobs that I don't care about. I actually care about this one. Like, I want to get in, but I've had so many interviews that, like, you can't phase me with anything anymore. And so it was like a committee of electricians that were sitting in there, and they were all kind of waiting for me. And I was in my like little button down and my like little work boots. And I just like, I had no nervousness at all. None at all. And I was like, I know I can do this. And so I think I maybe worked the room a little bit, and I made them laugh. And I found out later I scored a 98% on there, and somebody was like, we need her in the field.
Fuck yeah.
A 98?
A 98 out of 100. So,
you had 2 points less because of that vagina.
Probably. That's okay though.
Points off.
Well, it turns out the man who's actually our training director, he found out I was from DC, and they wanted to know all about this museum that I worked at. And so he was like, I took my kids there. And I was like, that's amazing. So if you find something to connect with people in the interview room about, like, you got it in the bag, you know? So.
And you said it's, I was just going to like put a link in the chat for everybody. Is it the IBEW 280?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
280.org. Yeah.
Thank you.
So that's my local. And for people who aren't super familiar with how trades unions work, which there's so much to know. Like, we could have a whole other podcast on like how trades unions work. But you are part of the IBEW, but then your local is wherever you happen to just do work at, like your home local. It's where you do your apprenticeship.
Right.
But IBEW members, once they go through the apprenticeship and they're a journeyman, so they have their electrical license, can travel around to different locals in the country. So that's kind of the idea.
Cool.
Yeah. So where were we?
Well, you were talking about the union, and so I'd love to go more, because I'm guessing a lot of people who are either listening or watching are not super familiar with unions, and sort of why. I mean, aside from the pension, one of the things you mentioned was just like making sure you had better work conditions and that you were getting a specific amount and like are actually taken care of. And I'd love for you to go in more detail about like what the union does for you as a worker.
Sure, absolutely. So actually, the biggest reason that I applied was because even before you apply, anybody can look up the wage scale of how much people in my local or any local make. And so you know that as a first year incoming apprentice, you're going to make this much, second year, this much, and they lay it all out for you. So on the job site, you feel very comfortable talking about how much you make because it's not a big secret, like everybody knows. And by the second term of the apprenticeship, I was going to be making the same that I was making at the museum after what amounted to like a 10-year career of paid and unpaid jobs. So that was kind of a no-brainer for me, where it was like, I can only move up. Right. Like, I can only move up from here. Sorry if you can hear my dog, he's barking. And then on top of that, so with the union, you have the power of collective bargaining. And so when you go in and you apply for a job normally in the private sector, I guess the private sector, you have to sit there and be like, I am worth this and this and this and this, and you should pay me this much. And then they go back and forth. With the IBEW specifically, that process happens with a committee of people from the IBEW, which represents the workers, and NECA, which is the National Electrical Contractors Association, and they represent all of like the businesses, right? So every year they have a meeting and they get together and they look at cost of living increases, they look at the job market, they look at things that the IBEW thinks their workers are going to need, and they say, we want this much. And then NECA comes back and they negotiate, and then every year they come out with a raise. Thus far, it's been every year since I've been in the union, which is amazing.
So they advocate for more pay for you,
and
to make sure everyone is fairly paid.
Yes. And then what happens is they'll agree on like a lump rate. So like, okay, so over time, we're going to make an extra this much money, like $3.54 this year. And then what they do is they take that back to the membership. And at the union meetings, we then vote on how we're going to allocate those funds. And the things that you can put that funding towards, that say it's $3.54, is you could say, okay, we want $1 on our check. So we'll see an extra dollar on the paycheck. We want $1 to one of our pensions, another dollar to another of our pensions, and 50 cents towards our flex plan. So the membership ultimately decides on what they want to do with that money, because we pay our dues. And so we have our dues that we it's like $50-something a month. And that goes towards that bargaining process as well as like us being guaranteed jobs where we're at, sort of. So as a union member, I am represented collectively. Sorry.
The other really important thing too that I want to touch on, which again blew my mind, is that the part about guaranteed work, but when you are laid off, you actually are still able to like collect and you're taken care of that way too.
Yes. Yeah. So I kind of misspoke when I said guaranteed work. It's just, it acts kind of like a big temp agency. And there are certain contractors who have agreed to only hire a union. And so there's kind of a big pool of workers that they can draw from. And so say you have a big data center, which is what happens where I live, and they need 130 electricians. Well, they can draw everybody from that local who needs a job, as well as travelers from outside. So you get priority for the work that's in your local if you are a member of that local.
Nice.
What was the other part of your question? I'm sorry.
Oh, just like when you aren't working, you're still able to collect unemployment, and then you can say like I'm in the union, so you don't have to prove.
That part's great.
Like,
oh yeah, you get to bypass paperwork. Like that's the best part, right?
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, and I don't have to do much. I don't really have to do any paperwork in my current job because I'm not a foreman or a supervisor. I'm just an apprentice, and it's great. But anyway, so yes, if you get laid off, which fun fact, I did today, you go and file for unemployment as you normally do. And I live in Oregon, and so our unemployment benefits are actually like really good here. And
nice.
normally with unemployment, you have to fill out all the jobs you applied to and everything. And as a member of the union, you can just click a box that says, I'm a member of a closed book union, and I'm not allowed to look for work outside of this particular system that I'm in. And then you don't have to fill anything else out, and you collect a check. And then you, as an apprentice, you wait for a call for the training center to call you and be like, hey, guess what? You're going to go work for Joe Schmo's Electrical doing apartments tomorrow. And you're like, cool. So I'm waiting on that call right now. As a journeyman, it's different. As a journeyman, you have more say in your own life. Like you can decide where you're going to go work. As an apprentice, they're like, here is your job. And you're like, sounds good. So
wait, when do you get to be like a journeyman, a journeywoman, if you will?
A journeywoman, a journey person, please, Jamie.
Yeah, fair.
I'm teasing you. It's actually funny.
She got you. Sorry.
The initialism for journeyman is actually JW. It's like journey worker is the idea.
Oh, okay.
But when I put that in Facebook posts, people will be like, do you mean Jehovah's Witness?
Oh, God. Like, yeah, don't do that. Oh, shit. Yeah, don't.
No.
Absolutely, you don't mean that. Sorry.
No, I mean, although some of them are. I know a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses in the trade. Why? Don't know. There's a lot of them, and Mormons too. Why? Because it's Oregon. I don't know.
No, so they can wire their bunkers. Obviously.
Well, I mean, I think we all could stand.
Obviously, drinks from our Stanley Cup. Obviously.
I mean, Rebecca, look at the news. We all need to go wire our bunkers. We all need plumbers and electricians right now.
Actually, wait, Rachel, are you working on our bunker? Can we have a shared bunker?
I can. How much? I mean, if you're willing to pay me, I'm not actually allowed to work off contract though. So
you're not going to work for free? I don't.
I mean, I would
just kidding.
Yeah, no, sorry, Jamie. Unless you become an established, accredited 501c3.
Okay.
Wait, do they tell you how long it's going to be? Like when you're like, hey, you're going to work, or is it just like you have to wait, kind of like subs where they get a call every day, or is it like for this amount of time you're working at this place?
It's more the first one where they're like, I don't know how long it's going to be, but that's why I go to union meetings, because at the union meetings, they talk about all the work that's coming up. And so I have a pretty good idea of if I get laid off, if there will be a job for me. And they publish the out of work list. So you know how long it is. You know how many people are in front of you. And that is the one irritating thing, is there is nothing you can do to get ahead on that list, right? Like you are in your place in line and you will wait for a job. So a little socialist in that sense, but I'm okay with that. I feel like the fairness is worth it.
Honestly, I was surprised too at the dues for $57. Like for all that protection and all the stuff that they do for you, I would pay double. Honestly, that's great.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. Because
that's a bargain.
And a lot of union busting, like one of their biggest techniques is like, well, they take your money. Like, well, okay, yeah, but like you get something for it.
Yeah.
It's invested for you. You don't have to argue for your own wages. And this is why national right to work is bad. But before we get into that, to answer your question, Jamie, so in my state and in most states, you have to have 8,000 on-the-job training hours, which is, I don't know, like 4 or 5 years, unless you're out for a while, but it could be longer. And then you have 10 terms of schooling at 80 hours each. So 800 hours of schooling on top of that. And that's where they teach you like transformers work, or how generators work, or how not to set yourself on fire. Yeah.
How not to set your coworkers on fire.
I mean, unless you really want to. Oh man! Oh god! The other day,
how to set your coworkers on fire and get away with it.
Well, no, I didn't quite. But I have hooked up a water heater, which it's 2 hot wires, and the conduit that's around them had like bit into the wires, which I didn't realize because when you tighten it down, it kind of like cinches in, and it cut open one of the wires, and so one of the plumbers turned on the breaker, and the thing just went. But the plumber was fine, and I fixed it. But I still felt horrible.
He's fine. He's fine.
Yeah, he came to find me, and he was like, was that supposed to explode? And I was like, no. Yeah,
Fire like, happened. I don't know what you're talking about. What exploded?
Yeah, well, but that is actually one of the nice things about the union. And I've talked to journeymen who have worked in the non-union side, and they say that with the union side of things, there is more of an emphasis on safety. And so even though they might be paying us a little bit more for a job, they're paying less for like what they call fingers in the ditch. Which is yeah, so
fingers
like the idea
in the
that
ditch,
people
coincidentally, was my nickname in college.
What's your name in college?
Nice. Yeah, so the idea is the less people that get hurt on a job, the less expensive the job is. You know, it's like if they're paying out a ton of money in insurance settlements, then the job is going to be more expensive. So if you pay your workers more up front and you put more of an emphasis on safety, like the job is going to cost less ultimately. And so that's kind of one of the arguments for like why people should hire a union. And I have found, I mean, we have mandatory OSHA training, which is the most boring fucking thing in the world, but like it's important.
It is important.
Yeah. And things like don't put 2 hot wires together with a conduit because they'll explode. Like I knew that, I just didn't know that it had happened. So yeah,
you knew that. You just wanted to try it for yourself firsthand.
I did.
Like, you get overtime too, right? Like even though you're in the union, you'll still get overtime.
Yes. And they also do overtime per day.
Rebecca's like looking up her local union right now. She's like, well,
no, for right now, because a lot of jobs, it's if you work 40 or more a week. With ours, it's if you work more than 8 hours in a day. So if I work 9.5 hours one day and then I work 7 the next day, I still get overtime for an hour and a half.
Oh, well. Mm-hmm.
Ash.
For now.
Ash said, I thought this was funny. The best saying I've heard is this: unions are like condoms. If someone tells you that you don't need one, you definitely do.
I love that. I love that. It definitely, and they got a bad rap in the 80s with Reagan, and there was a lot of anti-union busting and things like that.
Propaganda.
Call it what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, and now, I mean, I think most Americans are like 70% of them are like, yeah, unions are great. We should definitely support people who are making us our coffee or working at the grocery store. But unfortunately, that's not the way that our leadership is necessarily shaking out. So.
Oh, they hate just like condoms. They're like, ew, they make us feel weird. We don't like them.
Yes.
I really just don't like wearing them. I don't like wearing them.
It just doesn't feel the same as when I can exploit people.
The simile really, yeah, it goes really far. I like that one a lot.
Exploit, that was perfect. That was a perfect word for that. Good job.
Yeah. And then you don't have to deal with the consequences because you don't care because you're sitting in your mansion on your pile of gold or something.
Can we just talk
about
the
pile of skulls? Sorry.
Of Elon Musk being interviewed as they like showed pictures of his Tesla factory catching on fire, and we're having to ask him, he's like, we didn't do anything wrong. What are you being mean to us?
I don't know where all this hate comes from.
Oh, I haven't heard anybody. And it was the best thing I've seen all week, and it just gave me this warm, cozy feeling.
I just like watching the stock ticker for Tesla.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Anyways,
great.
I hope all of his work is unionized. All of them. Rise up.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, I'm pro anybody unionizing, and the IBEW is like we'll take anybody. Like there were steel workers who wanted to organize over in Eugene, and my local was like, we'll take you on, even though they're not electrical workers. They found some way to do it.
Oh, that's cool.
So,
Well, that was the thing you said yesterday. You were like, there's no veneer of like loyalty, which is very interesting because a lot of like desk jobs tend to be like, well, where else are you going to go? And like, it's kind of like this forced loyalty. But
Yeah.
with you, it sounds like that's not there at all. And people are free to move around as they need to.
just a big fat whore is what I am. Like, no, it's
Heard it here
like I have
first.
no.
Well, hold on. For note from me, beginning of podcast. Thank you. That's a good one. Just a big fat whore.
Okay. Well, and actually, what happened yesterday is a pretty good example because my the contractor that I was working for, the shop that I'm working for, they're good guys. Like they've tried to keep me busy with work. They've done their best, but you just kind of sometimes reach a point where they didn't get any jobs. And so the supervisor called me and he was like, hey, like you could wait for a job and collect unemployment and like continue to be employed with us, but we can't pay you right now. Or you could just take a layoff and go see if there's another project that needs work. And I happen to know that there are a lot of jobs that are coming up and that are going to need workers. And so it makes way more sense for me to go on the books. As they on the books means like you're on the out of work list. And so he wasn't like, oh, but don't leave us. And which is amazing because every single museum that I've worked for, especially the one in DC, was like, oh, but you're leaving us. It's like you owe them. Like you never owe your employer anything. And I know you guys know that, but like, I just wish they would tell children or teenagers that like, you don't owe them anything.
I wish that we like truly knew that like early in our careers, you know?
Right. And then you can't get guilt tripped into staying because it doesn't make any sense for me to just like sit around and not get paid when another company needs an apprentice and I can go work for them.
And well, Jamie and I talked a lot about elementary school. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I could talk forever, so please go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, Jamie and I have talked about like it starts at school where it's like you get the best attendance award, and you know if you're there every day, and then I don't know if it's changed, but growing up at our high school, when the kids went to trade school, they literally got sent in the short bus, and people would talk super derisively about like the trade school, like that's where all the burnouts go. When actually they are now gainfully employed, have their own fucking plumbing companies or electrical companies, and are making more money than any of us. And I wish, and instead it was like, go to school, that's where you get it. But you know, actually, trade school versus college, I can't see. Like, so far, you haven't shown me any of the downsides. Like you're protected, you have a union, you're making more money.
Yeah, 100%. And yes, I mean, I don't disagree. And yeah, also my health insurance is included in my work. So every hour that I work, I get $10 towards my health insurance. And then if I work 140 hours a week, which is slightly less than full time, I get health insurance.
140 a week? You mean month?
140 a month. Yeah.
I was like, all right, time to talk about burnout, ladies and gentlemen.
Like, wait. Well, and Rebecca, you're totally right. And I do, I participate in some outreach programs that our training center puts on for high schoolers and counselors and teachers so that they know about these programs. Because it's not just electrical. I mean, the plumbers have a great union too, the steam fitters, the boiler makers. And we have these programs so that kids...
I don't know. Hold on. You got to explain what those two last ones are.
The steam fitters and the boiler makers. Well, you know what? I actually don't necessarily know myself.
Okay.
How dare you, Rebecca? How dare you embarrass her?
No, you're good.
I don't know what they are.
No, actually,
I don't know what they are either.
It's a tradesperson who constructs, assembles, maintains, and repairs heavy metal structures like boilers and pressure vessels. It can also refer to a drink consisting of a shot of liquor, usually whiskey, served alongside beer. And steam fitters do... It's another pipe trade where they put pipes for like
got it.
steam systems.
Oh, steam fitter isn't the drink one. I thought it was like I go up to a bar and I'm like, bartender, give me a steam fitter.
You know what? You should order a steam fitter and see what happens. I'd be curious. They'll just plunk like a nice lesbian with good arms on the table and
yes. Or they go like, okay, I don't want any trouble. And they just like take money out of the cash register and give it to me.
Just hand it to you.
Yeah, the LGBTQ representation you were telling us was like crazy progressive and just super inclusive, which again is delightful to hear.
Yeah.
Yes. And I will not, okay, so it's heavily dependent on where you're at. So where I'm at, that's not necessarily the case. I am oftentimes the only female on a job site, and I do not talk about my sexuality at all, ever, because it's none of their goddamn business. But, a lot of places where unions are stronger, so not surprisingly, cities, coastal areas, so places like Portland and New York City and Los Angeles and San Francisco. When you go to these, we have conferences and meetings every year. So you go and you talk about being a woman in the trades or being a person in the trades, and talk about issues facing your particular category of person. And it's not just the women; they also have the Electrical Workers Minority Caucus in the IBEW, and what's it called? One that's specifically geared towards young people, but at the one that they have every year, it's called Tradeswomen Build Nations. That's for all trades represented, so unionized trades, for female identifying persons. And you walk into a room full of women who are in the female identifying persons, sorry, who are in the trade, and I swear to God, like 50 to 65% of that room is queer in some way, and you don't necessarily like. You don't need to ask them and be like, so are you queer? You just kind of know.
I don't know how that would go over.
Sticking out of their pockets.
A bandana?
What? Oh yeah, the bandanas.
And the bandanas sticking out of their pocket.
Oh yeah, and the trucker hats, and then like they're all hooking up after like the plenary sessions in their hotel rooms. Like, so it's just, and then actually, I went to a really excellent breakout session at the last Tradeswomen Build Nations one that I went to. Yeah, conferences. I don't know, like what.
I was just like,
oh yeah, right. That's actually, but it was for LGBTQ plus communities, and they had the most colorful panel of people I have ever seen, including 2 trans women who are electrical workers, both of whom had blue hair, and then this.
What?
I know. See, Jamie, I told you would fit in with the blue hairs.
Blue hair.
And then like this lady from
Don't
Minnesota,
make it a slur. Jeez. Sorry.
Oh, I have blue hair over there.
So actually, some of my coworkers who are more conservatively minded have used that as a slur. Or like those blue hairs from Portland, and I'm like,
my God,
blue hair. And they're like, of course you did.
Reclaim that word, Jamie. Reclaim it. Make it yours again. Jesus.
My name's Jamie. Ooh. I'm one of them blue hairs.
I'm one of the blue hairs. Yeah. So it was really. It was a really uplifting session, and hearing all these people talk about their stories, and like women who were gay and coming up through the trades in like the 1970s and 1980s. And one of them helps lead an organization called Pride at Work, which I donate to monthly, that supports, I guess, queer people in all sorts of work. So it was great, and there's just a huge representation for that sort of thing. And even in my local, which is more, like I said, rurally conservatively minded, they do have all these mandatory like DEIA classes in our schooling, right? And so even if the guys who are listening to these don't agree with what's being said, they ain't allowed to say shit. So there's that.
They just mutter about it in the truck on their way home.
Yeah.
And to be fair, like most of the guys I work with are actually and am in school with are excellent. Like, the only troubles I've ever had are from like old crotchety men from way back in the day. The guys that I work with,
all the old crotchety men, we'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the guys who I work with who are like honestly 55 and younger are fine. So there's that. By fine, I mean we can have frank discussions about things that we vehemently disagree with each other about.
You have more patience than I do.
Well, you know.
What has your mental health been like now that you've been in this for a while? So just, I mean, you kind of give us briefly, it's like, I am not a manager of guest services, and you were just so happy not talking to people. Like, where are you now mentally? Like, do you like your job? Do you feel invigorated?
What day is it?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not a very indoorsy person. I mean, I like being indoors, but working inside an office all day in front of a computer makes me incredibly antsy. And so when I am working outside or I'm just moving around all day, my mental health is so much better. I mean, I routinely would get like 15 to 20,000 steps a day at my last job. And it's just like, I like to be moving, and that helps so much. I mean, there are certain things, I mean, it's not it's not all sunshine and roses. There are certain tasks that I do where they're menial and they're dumb and you stand still for them and they take forever. Like,
hold on, are they any dumber than snails in jars though?
no,
that's kind of like
no.
the.
And you know what? I had to be earning a master's degree for that shit. So
that blows my mind.
True. So, you know, things like fire caulking, where you're basically like shooting fireproof putty into holes that you've drilled. Like, it's not the most thrilling thing in the world, but you know, you listen to podcasts and you get on with your day. But I would say that my mental health has been good.
Please check out the Burnout Collective anywhere that you listen to your podcasts.
It's yes, and you guys help. Honestly, I listen to podcasts at work, and I'm not just saying this, but I do put you guys on.
I would listen to us at work. Honestly.
Well, and it's nice to be reminded. I'm like, oh, there's like other women out there with jobs. Just because I don't get to see any women on the workplace ever.
Yeah.
So it's just, I don't know. I like what you guys do. We were finishing out this one apartment unit, and the cleaning crew had come in, and they were both women, and I was like, oh, girls, and just because it was like, oh, I can talk to them, like they understand me, and there's just like a, hey, you're on a construction site and you're a woman, and like, and there is kind of that sense of understanding with each other, just because there are so few of us, and that is kind of nice. So every time you see another girl on the job site, you're like, hey, like we're friends.
Do you feel uncomfortable at all, like when you're out there when you are the only girl, like?
Not anymore.
See?
Not anymore. No. If they honestly, I think I make them more uncomfortable than they make me.
Perfect.
That's exactly how it fucking needs to be.
100%.
Yep. Yeah, because I mean they're good guys and they don't want to be accused.
They're walking to the trucks with their Wolverine claws.
There's well, no, and like I was walking back one day, and this was right after I had come back from an injury, and I guess I was limping. I didn't realize it, but I was carrying this like huge tote, and this one guy like ran up behind me, and he was like, let me carry that for you. And so there are times when you're like, don't treat me like a girl, but you're also like, I really need help.
Yeah.
Thank you for, right? You know,
I feel like that every day of my life. I'm like, right, no, I fucking got this. I don't need help.
Yeah. And so I do appreciate those moments, but then there's also like another guy who won't eat in the lunch trailer when I'm there.
So that's because his wife doesn't let him be alone with other women without another man.
That is the thing. That is the thing. There are guys I work with who like can't tell their wives about me.
What?
And it's like,
what?
No, I know. It's
How
few and far between. Not many.
Mormon? Oh, how old? Mormon.
Yeah, it makes me feel kind of bad for them because like I swear to God, like most of them just bitch about their wives. Like that's their primary occupation is drinking and bitching about their wives. And I'm like, your life is sad. I'm so sorry for you.
Oh my God.
But Ash wants to know, it was uncomfortable to start with, like kind of finding, I can imagine.
Yeah. Well, and also because like I am not a country girl, and where I live is very rural, and these guys they really like cars, they like guns, they like country music
and like
off-roading and stuff that is fine, and I'm sure I would like it if I knew how to do any of it, but I'm like, I like playing the piano and I like doing art and books. So like we don't often have things to talk about. So I just listen to them talk about cars, and I try to learn stuff every once in a while. I hate cars. I really hate cars. They're hot. They suck.
Just not interested in cars.
Your patience level is fantastic, because I would just get so annoyed.
I think it comes from, I've always kind of felt that like, as much as I say I don't like people, that's not really true. Because every person that I encounter, I'm like, they're like a book. And they have all these different chapters and all these different stories. And there's so much to every person that you meet.
That's exactly how I feel. And I just watched Rebecca roll her eyes so hard.
I know. And I know. I'm like, Rebecca, she's
the
like,
Taurus snap judgment is...
You know what? I've known you for 36 years. It's cool. I knew you weren't going to agree with me, but it's true. And actually, this is why I wanted to do anthropology, is because people are interesting. And so in my head, and I also really like first dates and interviews for the same reason, because you never run out of things to talk about. Because you're like, I just met this person. I need to know everything about them.
Oh, God.
So that helps.
Tell me everything about you.
That's right.
Like,
we will do that.
But you have to keep it socially acceptable. Which honestly...
The first time I went to Robert's apartment... Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
I said the first time I went to Robert's apartment, I just immediately started digging through his closet and all of his drawers and being like, "What is this? What are these pictures? Who is this?"
Rachel,
And
would you ever do that the first time you went to a partner's place when you were dating?
Not the first time, but I definitely was in a relationship that was on the rocks.
I've just never done that, period.
Really? Oh,
yes.
I've done it once and I felt so bad. I've never, like, genuinely have never done it again.
Oh no, he was right there. No, he was literally right there.
Oh.
And I'm like, "Tell me, who is this? What are you doing?" Oh yeah, no, he was literally right there. And I was just I was like, "Who is this in this picture? Is your mom dead?" Like just
Do you think part of that? I don't think I could do that. I could not do that.
Is your mom
I mean,
dead?
I think it's like just rip that Band-Aid off, and I needed to know if he was a serial killer. So,
I mean, yeah. I support it. Like, I'm not judging. I like putting myself in your position of doing that. It makes me feel so deeply uncomfortable on so many levels. But maybe you just don't have that like give a fuck aspect of it.
I love it. I love going.
Oh, you know she doesn't have that give a fuck.
I know.
Rebecca has no give a fucks.
No fucks to give. Yeah.
No, that's what you have to start in strong. Like a new person you start to work with. What is your religious trauma? Are your parents divorced? Yeah, you just.
I do want to know religious trauma. I do want to know that.
No, and there is so much of it, and so many of these guys, and I don't know if it's because I'm a girl, but they will tell you everything immedely, and they want me to like them, and they want me to.
My stupid wife doesn't listen to me.
Well, you kind of feel bad for them. You're like, I'm sorry for whatever you're going through. Like, not everything about you is great, and I definitely wouldn't fucking marry you, but like. It's like they need someone to talk to. And so I was talking to one of my my J-Dubs one time.
You know who's great to talk to? It's fucking therapists. Go to therapy.
Right. Okay. And so I will say I have learned the hard way to put up boundaries. Like I have learned this the hard way because inevitably I start telling them things about myself and then those things always come back to bite me because these men gossip like fucking middle schoolers. You would not believe, like they have no filters and they just say everything. So if they know stuff about you, they're going to share it with everybody else, and then suddenly everybody knows you business. And it's not.
This is why they can't be in leadership. They're too emotional. I mean, that's why they shouldn't lead.
I also just feel like so many men, like it's got to be like a high percentage of men, treat a lot of women, a lot of partners as therapists or mothers.
Maybe.
Don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be that guy. I think some guys... mommy wife. Ash says, I think sometimes guys automatically see women as safe places to share emotions, with other men not being safe. And yes, they should go to therapy, not burden the women in their lives. Yep, patriarchy.
Hooray, Ash. Yeah, and I'm pretty naive, just like inherently. And so like it took me a minute to learn this, that I don't have to be that person. And if I get to know these guys one-on-one, then sure, like I'll listen to them. But I've told them now I have told them that if they come to me with relationship advice, my first piece of advice is then dump her. Just off the cuff, like I don't have to, I'm just dump her. I don't care. Let me move on with my day because I need to go back to work. I'm here to work. I'm not here to be your goddamn therapist. And like, it's taken me a long time to build that up though. Right? Like at first I was like, oh, of course I'll listen to your problems because I should respect you because you're a journeyman. And now I'm like, fuck off. Like I need to work. It's taken me a minute.
Healthy boundaries at work. Look at
That's
you.
Great. Yeah.
I know. I'm working on it.
Hey, you're doing great.
No, that's great. No, genuinely, that was great.
Thanks. And I liked my last crew too. Like they were good guys. We had great conversations. None of us were on the same page politically, but like we talked about it and we got through the day together and we would go out and have pizza and beer after work. So.
All right.
I did want to ask, because I've never heard the story from you. I want to hear the barn story.
Oh.
Give us maybe a little background. Tell us the story, if you're comfortable.
What are you going to say, Rebecca?
No, Rachel Cannon, barn survivor.
Okay. How much preamble do you want for this?
Do it. Just do it all.
We want a whole story, a whole dramatic story. Let's go. Take a drink. Let's get ready.
Storytelling skills. Okay. So it's not really that good of a story, but as I have previously... Hi, Josh. I don't know who you are, but hi. I am not a country girl, and I moved to rural Oregon to buy a house with my partner, who I'd known for all of 4 months, and we have an acre and a half, and neither one of us has any fucking idea how to manage an acre and a half. So we had this shitty old pole barn that was just like 4 ponderosa pine trees in the ground with like a roof and some siding around it that was crappy to say the least, and pieces of it were falling down. And so I had the bright idea of like, well, what if we took this eyesore down, just tore all the siding off, and we turned it into a nice chicken coop for our chickens and like a greenhouse structure. And
I'm sorry, do you have chickens?
Not anymore, and I'll tell you why in a second.
Oh, okay.
Because that's part of the story. So we were going to build this nice chicken coop for them, and so it turns out that when you put just straight ass trees in the ground when the soil is very acidic and they're sitting there for probably 27 years or so, the wood is no longer structurally sound. And so when you take off the siding, that is the only thing that was holding that goddamn thing together. And the roof was 3 layers of wood, so it's very top heavy, right? And so I'm out there one day and I said to Caleb, my partner, I was like, hey, we should pour concrete footings for this to shore up this structure. And he was like, okay, I'll go to the hardware store and I'll get some bags of concrete. And I was like, great, I'm going to stand here and I'm going to keep digging out. So he leaves. I am under the barn with the puppies outside. I have 2 dogs and a shovel. And I'm like clearing out the remnants of what used to be the chicken coop because we had temporarily rehomed the chickens so we could do this project, right? And I hear and I stopped and I went, oh, that's probably not good. And I hear and I went, boys, and I was like trying to shove the dogs away, like get them out of the way. And I started to run and then ran as the barn fell this way to me. And so I ran in exactly, had I run any other direction, any other of like the 359 degrees of 360, I would have been fine, but I ran in exactly the wrong direction. And this whole fucking thing just teeter-totters down right on top of me. And it landed, and I know this now, so like I'm holding my phone up so people can see, like here's the roof of the barn. It landed with a corner of it under a burn barrel and tilted down like this, right? And I'm right next to the burn barrel. And so that was the only thing that kept that fucking roof that probably weighed well over 1,000 pounds just from smashing me, right? So my first thought was, after all the dust had cleared, was, motherfucker, this is going to be expensive. God damn it. And my second thought was, where the hell are my dogs? Yeah. So I had just this much to look out underneath like the roof, and I saw our Pomeranian like, huh? Sighting, and then our other dog was like, oh, what's happening? And so like, okay, the dogs are alive.
Puppies
cool.
Are safe.
And when shit like this happens, you're just kind of in like a state of like, okay, handle business.
Shock.
I'm in, like, you're not shocked. You're not.
No, birds don't fall on people when you're in situations like this.
When you don't know that they're rotted out because you're an idiot and you move to the country without any knowledge of how to build a goddamn barn, they do fall on you, unfortunately. And so then I don't remember exactly what order things happened in.
Have you had any experience with this, Rebecca? She has. No, and 100% of the time she's had experience with this, the barn fell on her.
You know what? Statistically speaking, you are correct. 100% of the time, the barn falls on people. You're not wrong. Yeah.
Sorry. So, go ahead. I'm so sorry.
No. You're good. So I forget the order that things happened in, but basically, like I thought, okay, I can't afford an ambulance because we just paid to like clean out our yard, and we just paid up for like a roll-off dumpster. We had just paid to clean all the trash out of our yard, and I had spent a lot of money on a roll-off dumpster to put all of our trash in it to be taken away, right? So I'm like, fuck. So we can't afford an ambulance. I can probably crawl out. Like, I got space. And so I start to move, but I'm laying on my side, and the hip that was under me was like, nope. And the screams I have scrummed. Like, it hurt more than anything I've ever felt in my entire life. And so I kept trying, and I couldn't move. And I started yelling, and I was like, somebody help, please help, please help. Like, I don't know no one could hear me because there was a fucking barn on top of me, right? So sometime during this, I text my instructor for my schooling because I had my phone on me, and I was like, I won't be in class tomorrow. Number one.
That's the first thing you do with your phone?
First thing, but it was in the cycle somewhere. And I called my sister, and I was like, okay, so first of all, I'm fine. Second of all, you need to call mom and dad, and I'm going to make her cry, but I was fine.
No, the first time you called, and I just heard you screaming, and I heard men's voices, and then you hung up.
Oh, okay, so I called you
after. Oh my God.
Okay, that's good to
I
know.
thought she was getting fucking, I don't even know, but
okay,
yeah.
sorry. So I did call 911 before I called you. This is good to know. I did not know that. So I called 911 and the operator stayed on the phone with me and she was like, just hang out, like people will come. And a whole crew of like 15 people, men, tall men, burly men in fireman suits came to our yard as our dogs are just like, oh, hi. I heard them say like, well, the dogs are friendly. And then they spent about 45 minutes trying to figure out how to get me out from underneath this barn. So in that ensuing 45 minutes must have been when I called Rebecca and I was like, hey, I need you to tell our parents about this.
She's like taking selfies while she's under the barn with like the hot burly men.
Yeah, I thought about it and was like, that's tacky. I can't do that. And you also have to remember that this entire time, like my partner, who is a straight male, was at the hardware store. And I tried to call him twice and he didn't pick up his phone.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So he gets home from not picking up his phone. I texted him 911, get your ass home, help. Right? Like just get home. And so he comes home and he doesn't beat the ambulances there. And so he comes home to a bunch of men like trying to get me out from underneath the barn. And he couldn't do anything because they were like, you can't help. Just go sit in your car, go sit away. And they spent 45 minutes arguing over how to get me out. And at one point they were like, well, what if we like chainsaw this piece of wood? And I was like, that is 7 inches from my head. Please do not take a chainsaw 7 inches from my head. And eventually they decided to like basically do the ice rescue thing where you like get on your stomach and you pull somebody out and then you have another person holding onto that person's feet. And so they had to drag me out on the hip that was dislocated. And I don't know if you've ever dislocated anything. Yeah, right. So I can spare you the details, but it hurt a lot. And then they had to put me very, very like I'm not a screamer. I'm not a screamer. I'm not emotional. I just like I screamed from my toes many times. They put me very carefully onto a stretcher, and then I heard one of them say, "Give her fentanyl," and I was like, "I love it's bad." No, because I'm like half out of it at this point anyway, because I'm still in shock and trying to process whatever's happening. I'm really glad they gave me the fentanyl.
I'm really glad they gave you the fentanyl too.
And then on the way out, the ambulance ride was a half an hour to the hospital because I live in the middle of goddamn nowhere. And they got the ambulance stuck at a certain point because they had like rolled into some soft dirt. And so it took them a little bit to figure out how to get the ambulance out of the dirt.
Oh, God.
So I get to the hospital eventually and I've never done ketamine for fun, but I now know what ketamine is like. And it is something. So.
And boy, is it something.
So like, I don't even know where to like end this story at, but basically
Rachel
like
Cannon, barn survivor.
It
hurt a lot.
It hurt a lot.
The actual breaking of your fucking hip. It did break. It wasn't just dislocated. You broke it.
It did. Yeah. And so like, because it snapped with such force, the acetabular region, which is like the back of your pelvis, broke in two places.
Love that.
And so I was out of commission for 3 months. I was not allowed to go anywhere or do anything for 3 months, which I am not good at sitting still. So I was out of work for 3 months. And I will say that my major takeaway from this story is that shit happens and you just deal with it. Like that's, as we get older, shit just fucking happens. People die, barns fall on people, like people get cancer, you could lose your job, whatever it is. And like, it sucks and you can talk about it and you can process it, but like all you can really do is continue to move forward. Otherwise you just fall over and die. And I don't mean that to be too simplistic.
Don't talk to Rachel about it at work. She doesn't want to hear it. Don't talk to her about it at work.
About the barn or about anything?
About anything. Whatever shit has happened to you, I don't want you working.
I don't mean to sound heartless, and I'm not trying to be all like who moved my cheese about it, where it's like just deal with it, move on.
I'm just giving you shit.
Okay.
No, I get it. I'm just giving you shit.
Yeah. So you know, but like I think after this happened to me, I've heard from guys who are like, oh yeah, like I went off-roading one time and I like broke my leg in 17 places and I was out of work for 4 months. Like my partner's dad was telling me about a time when he did something really traumatic
over there. It's a whole different world.
They really like people just get hurt a lot. They just it happens. And so now I have my story, I guess. I don't recommend it for anybody.
Hey, at least you have your fun fact when you meet new people, you know.
Right, exactly. Mm-hmm. I'm a barn survivor.
An entire barn fell on me and I lived.
Yeah, totally. So, and so you asked about the chickens. So rather than constructing a new coop for our chickens, which I had spent $400 on material for, I had a broken fucking hip. My partner was like, I'm not building a fucking chicken coop. And we were like, okay. So we found somebody to take the chickens. As animals, not as to eat.
Okay.
Just
okay. She saw my face. She's like,
so I was like, I don't think they ate the chickens, but it ain't my business. So.
I just remember I've actually only been to, I guess I've been to Portland a few times now, but the first time I ever went to Portland, I was just doing a lot of like touristy things and a lot of different hikes and stuff. I remember coming down from a hike. I don't remember what it was. And it was just like the trail started and ended in like this little neighborhood. I'm walking through the neighborhood and the house, like immediately to my left, I just look and there's just like 3 chickens in the backyard. Just like, and I was like,
just hanging out.
I'm in Portland.
Here. Yeah. We also had 3 chickens. Their names were Limoncello, Hookers, and Blackjack.
Ooh, those are good names.
No, I'm sorry. We had 2 chickens at the time of this barn falling incident because one of them got eaten by the neighbor's cat. I forgot that happened. That is unfortunate. That is
what
this
a
is
cat.
Why I will not have...
Would a cat just eat? Yeah, I guess cat would just eat a chicken.
Yeah. This is why I think people are like, I'm going to move to the country and forget all my problems. No, you're not. No, you're not, because you have to keep livestock alive. Yeah, and you can't just take them in your house and cuddle them and make them yours. You can, but those people are crazy. So, I don't know, people who are like, I just want to move and I want acreage and I want land. No, you don't. Stay in your apartment. It's so much easier. Like, I know it's expensive, but you don't have to have a barn fall on you or like figure out what to do.
Let this be a warning.
Yeah.
If you're thinking about stopping renting, don't. A barn might fall on you.
I mean, at least with my upbringing, you know, like I feel like I spend a lot of time outside, but I don't. I'm an electrician. I can't really do practical stuff outside. So
electrical stuff seems practical.
It is. And actually, one of the benefits of having a lot of coworkers who are rural and outdoorsy is I can ask them questions about like, hey, why is my car making this funny sound? And they can help me out. So,
yeah. Hey, what do you think happened to my chicken?
Oh, honestly, thank you so much. Like, this has been truly like, again, this is something we don't talk about or know about at all, honestly. And
barn falling
is a ton of great information. Yes.
Everything.
Okay.
No, it's true. But I mean, like, there have been, I mean, it's not something we experienced. Like, for example, when I was freelancing, I was brought on, now I know as a scab. I was just brought on as a contractor because their writers were trying to unionize. And so like,
oh no,
which I didn't know, but like, it's 100% discouraged everywhere I've been. Writers and editors unionizing. It's bad. So
can you
so
imagine
I had heard something with the SAG-AFTRA strike about I don't remember what I said, but my first thought was like, well, why aren't all writers unionized? Because you should be. But something about how the .com streaming services are able to take advantage of writers and actors who aren't in a union or something like that. And there was this whole big thing surrounding that. Do you guys know the details?
I do not.
I think because they they don't get paid. So like with TV, like with reruns, you get what's it called? The checks, like every time it plays.
Yeah.
Residual. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Residuals. Okay. Yeah.
Residuals. Yeah. So, but like if it's streaming, which is millions and millions of times during the day by millions and millions of people, you don't get residuals for that.
Yeah.
At all. So.
And I had no idea. You know, I've just been sitting here watching Netflix without having any thought to the wiser. And I think that's kind of the great thing about at least knowing about unions or knowing that they exist or they're an option is you kind of open your eyes to all the workers who are exploited in all of the industries.
Ash, who's a editor and writer too, said we should unionize even harder. I mean, yeah. Can you imagine?
Definitely. Just unionize everything.
How much better everything would be.
Yeah. And it's definitely not a perfect system, but I think that collective bargaining thing and the ability to talk freely about wages at work without this like bullshit of we don't talk to our coworkers about how much we're making.
Yeah, pay transparency is almost non-existent. We've had it once. Well, I've had it once. I don't know if you had it more than time. At the startup we were at, we had, but that's because we had a great HR person. but I've never had it anywhere else and have been actively discouraged from talking about how much I make.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear I've heard what you guys talk about and complain about with your work lives on the podcast, and I've heard that one a lot, and that just I've been in that position too, and it sucks because you're like, I mean, for me, it's always been like I don't make enough to like have anybody care about it. Who the fuck cares that I make 48,000 a year? Although I was in a position at one point where I was hiring, as I was helping hire two people who made $60,000 a year. So I had the final say on who we hired who made $12,000 a year more than I did.
That's insane.
And I didn't stick up for myself, and I really wish that I would have. So.
Well, no, this is great. And I think, honestly, I plan to just poke around the internet. I find it fascinating, and I love you telling us everything. Like, I know you could probably talk about this for hours.
I could, yeah, and I'm trying to keep it short and sweet.
Well,
but
we'll just have you back, is what that means.
Okay.
Yeah, no, thank you so much.
Cosmic in chat here said, anytime I get told not to talk about how much I make, I immediately tell everyone I see. Yeah, that's how I feel. I think it's still like the tiny, oh my god, your dog. I just saw, your little Pomeranian. I don't think chat saw, but on like our video. I mean, yeah, if we can.
Here, buddy.
Oh.
Where'd he go? I don't want to drop him. 1 second.
Please don't drop him.
We went on a run today, so he's a little tired.
Oh.
Both of them are. But this is Jeffrey.
Oh,
and
the
this is
baby.
Hopper.
And wait, what's the other dog's name?
Hopper.
Hopper. Nice.
Mm-hmm. So those are my boys.
Aww.
Well, no. Do you? I know you saved on socials, but is there anything else you want to plug, or just if you want to reach out to you, we can add your email to the show notes.
I mean, sure. Yeah, I have. Yeah. Do you want me to just give my email?
No, you can give it to us after.
Show notes.
Okay.
Yeah. Like if there's anywhere else they want to find you.
Yeah. So I was going to say I'm also within our local. I'm also the reporting secretary for our Sisters Committee, which is a committee of very excellent women who, I mean, it's anybody who's female identifying who wants to do stuff in our local, and that kind of support has been huge. And so I've been helping start up that committee. And so I guess if anybody has questions about things like that, or they want to know about unionized trades, I'm always happy to help people drink the Kool-Aid. I love the Kool-Aid. It's delicious. That's all. Yeah. And I would also encourage people that like if you're reading the news and you see some of this bullshit about like national right to work or how people are anti-union or how they're trying to like rewrite the laws in really sneaky ways that are bad for American workers, read up on those things. Like if you have time, do that research so that you can talk openly about them. So if you meet somebody who's like, well, I don't agree with unions, you can actually be like, well, let me tell you. I think that that's really important for people to know as Americans and as workers.
I feel like we got to get her and Alyssa together, honestly.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the whole point of
communism happen.
Yeah, that's the whole point of the Burnout Collective, too, is that, like, you know, we just hear everybody's story and everybody's journey and, you know, all the stuff Rebecca hates, right? About the books and the chapters.
All that touchy-feely stuff.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
No, what?
I was joking. I was making a joke. Because before she was saying, like, she loves people because everyone has their own story.
Sorry. I'm following along now. Sorry, I was reading. Alyssa agrees that she also would like to.
Oh, nice.
Utah just passed a law against collective bargaining. Mm-hmm. So does that mean that they made unions illegal, or they just made that part of unions illegal? That's insane.
Yeah, which is I think it was only for government workers, if I'm remembering correctly. And this is why I say, like, read up on it. And I'm like, what was that one again? Yeah. It's so hard to keep track these days. You know, you're like, what happened today? I don't know. But yeah, that's kind of when I talk about the advantage of a union, that collective bargaining, like CBA's collective bargaining agreements are part and parcel. Like that's the big thing. That is what you want a union for. Because you have people advocating for you. Otherwise, why the fuck are you paying dues?
Workers' rights are part of shrinking the oligarchs' power hoarding.
I like your listeners. Correct. It's just like I just got the tingles.
Yeah, she's great.
Alyssa gives us.
Well, no, yeah, we'll put your. we'll put your email in the show notes, and your Blue Sky is on screen. We'll add that too. But yeah, genuinely, thank you so much. I can't wait to have you back and hear more about this. I think it's important to get this info out because I didn't know anything about it, and I don't think a lot of people know a lot about it.
It's a deep hole. And there's a lot of holes to go down right now. So thank you so much for having me. And it was really lovely to talk to the both of you. And I love what you do. And I'm so happy that you're doing this and filling this niche for people who just like need to scream, and not into a void. Into like
stop.
Yeah.
Also, like Rachel and I figured out like how similar we are, and like now we're also going to be friends. So
I love, and this is part of my problem too. Is I'm like, everybody's my new best friend. I'm like a golden retriever that way. So I know you're like that too, Rebecca. Every day.
Oh, I love people. I have so many friends and love people. But yeah, we'll add that in there. And I don't think we have anyone scheduled for next week. I think it's just going to be me and Jamie.
Yeah, probably going to be us, unless. But we'll let you know. Keep you updated. Yeah, we'll go back to Thursdays. We just did Wednesdays this week to accommodate me, I guess. So we'll get back to it. Rachel, thank you so much. I'm so glad I got to
thank you.
meet you too and like get to know you.
Yeah, you too. I've heard good things.
And you have my number. So.
Oh my gosh, new friends. Okay.
All right. Well, we will see you guys next Thursday.
Yeah. Okay. See you next week. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here.
Rachel, don't hang up. Don't hang up. Jamie will turn you off. Just FYI.
Okay. All right. Bye, you guys. Thank you. See ya.